What do you say to the people who think you're just a
Believe it or not, there are people that do not want to be healed. It's healthy to be skeptical because there are we're awakening to the truth.
I want to be a beacon of hope. I want to put the love on the internet.
That I'm still not satisfied. I'm not finding what I'm looking for in the external.
What do you say to the people who think you're just a sham?
It's normal. I would expect that. In fact, I was also skeptical before I even got into this. As 15 years on real estate is a very
Today's guest has spent 15 years in real estate, not just selling houses, but coaching people through what he thought were strategic decisions, career pivots, big moves, and life changes. After thousands of those conversations, he noticed something that kept showing up. The logic was never the problem. People already knew what they needed to do. What kept them stuck was something deeper: old patterns of approval, identity, survival. Things that no amount of planning or mindset hacks could touch. That realization sent him down a path most people wouldn't take. He walked away from a successful career, trained in quantum healing hypnosis technique under the lineage of Dolores Cannon, and now runs a private practice in Toronto where he guides people into the deepest parts of their subconscious mind to find the answers they've been sitting on. But here's what makes him different. He's also a music label called My Spiritual Teacher, where he puts out spiritual and political rap. The kind of music that forces you to ask how the kind of music that forces you to ask how much truth you're actually willing to stand in when something's on the line. His name is Ali Christos. He's a dual US Canadian citizen, an advanced HT practitioner, the host of Beyond the Script podcast, and the author of a new book, What Happens in Quantum Hypnosis. And today we're going to talk about the invisible line between being strategic and slowly erasing yourself. Ali, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So I do have to ask all my guests this one question. What's a truth in your industry that people do not want to admit?
Well, my industry's changed. The truth in real estate would have been different. I feel like in real estate, the truth that people didn't want to admit was that even though they had all the trappings, I'm talking about the top brokers in New York, they were on the TV shows, they drove the nice cars, they had multiple properties, they were being featured on New York Times, Wall Street Journal. I was one of them. And maybe I'm just speaking for myself, but I doubt that. I feel like what they wouldn't probably admit at the time, and I probably wouldn't have either, was that I'm still not satisfied. I'm not finding what I'm looking for in the external. So that was for real estate.
Mm-hmm.
As far as that, now that I'm also the founder of Conscious Practitioners Network, where we help coach and guide practitioners in the healing modalities, not just quantum hypnosis, but even beyond that, like Reiki, massage therapy, all that. What I'm finding is that a lot of the practitioners are having trouble with the business side, to say the least. Mm-hmm. And so I don't think that that's something that they would want to admit openly, although they are struggling with it for the most part, at least after speaking with more than 300 practitioners worldwide in quantum hypnosis in particular. I found that are having challenges, and many of those challenges are similar amongst the people that I spoke to.
Can I make a guess at those challenges? And I'm assuming it's related around people's misunderstanding of how healing the mind is really a business. I'm making an assumption here, but I assume that it's hard to market to a lot of people.
Well, I would say that is correct for the most part, because there's a lot of misconceptions about what hypnosis is, and in particular what quantum hypnosis is, because it is very different from what people know as traditional hypnosis. And then you also have a lot of society that believes that hypnosis is still something being waved in front of your face and you start clucking like a chicken on stage, and that is, stage hypnosis, or show hypnosis, and that's quite different. Quantum hypnosis is for the purpose of healing. It's for the purpose of getting answers from yourself, a part of you that has all the wisdom, what we define as the higher self, or as my teacher Dolores Cannon used to call the subconscious. And again, it's not the subconscious that we're familiar with in psychology or traditional hypnosis. This is a part of yourself that has the deeper wisdom, the truths about not just your current life, but all the lives you've lived.
Can you tell me a little bit more about how the difference between quantum hypnosis and regular hypnosis?
Yeah, absolutely. So, interestingly enough, Dolores, my teacher who started QHHT, quantum hypnosis healing technique, when she first started, she was practicing in traditional hypnosis. People would come to her for weight loss issues, to quit smoking, various phobias that they may have had. And she found that in her sessions, people were starting to regress into other lifetimes. They would take on the voices, the character, the experiences of that lifetime during the hypnosis session. And as she continued on over 4 decades of doing this, she found that people were also able to access a higher part of themselves that had all the answers. And she dubbed it the subconscious, also known, as I said earlier, like higher self, but some call it the oversoul.
Would the
And
Akashic records be another term for that?
Akashic Records is known to be the
The
cosmic
source?
library, if you will, that has the answers of all that was, is, and will be.
Hmm.
Um, One could access that, and that's a whole different rabbit hole we can go down. But for the all intents and purposes for quantum hypnosis, the idea is, uh, perhaps it will help if I back up just a little bit, because just to explain what a typical session is. A normal hypnosis session can be, and by normal I mean a traditional hypnosis session, could be anywhere from an hour to 2 hours, where the induction is usually at least half an hour to an hour. Induction is where the hypnotist recites a certain script to bring you into the state of hypnosis. Now, contrast that to quantum hypnosis. Our inductions are very short, as short as 15 minutes. And if there's a repeat client, we can make it much shorter because we use something called a keyword that the client gives us that allows us, in our voice, with their permission and only with their permission, to bring them into a deep hypnosis state using those keywords. So now, in a quantum hypnosis session, it's not just the hypnosis session. We first start with something very important that we dub the interview, but it's like a pre-session, if you will. And during that interview process, we basically sit down with the client, and we spend anywhere from 2 to 4 hours, sometimes more, going over their entire life, from the time they were born, their school years, their relationships, their challenges, the things that are really important to them, all the relationships that they're connected to right now that really matter, and anyone that's passed on, maybe that has impacted them. We go over their symptoms that they may be experiencing, any health issues. And on the surface, it may be like, oh, wow, this is like, you can fix everything. The truth is, we as practitioners don't do anything except create space, um, provide direction for you to get the answers that you are looking for. So clients are urged to bring questions that they have. Often people come in with questions about their life purpose, their relationships, their careers. They feel stuck perhaps somewhere in their life, um, or the lack thereof. So they bring in those questions to us. And again, it's not us we're not, unlike psychics, where psychics give you a prediction. Everything in a quantum hypnosis session comes through the client's mouth, which
Hmm.
is the magic of it, if you will, or the beauty of it. Now, during the interview session, what's really beautiful about it is that, and I'm not religious, but I do consider myself to be deeply spiritual. And one of the things that comes to mind is, ask and it is given, knock and you shall receive. So during the interview process, that's essentially what's going on. The client is proclaiming all of their challenges,
Hmm.
and we are holding space, listening, not judging, not giving solutions, just listening, empathetically, in a loving manner, and allowing them to express. And many times the information that is shared is so deep and so profound and so meaningful to the client that they tell us that, not even my lover knows this about me, or not even anyone in my family. What we found is that we hold the most secrets from our families and our close ones. And again, there's no judgment there, because as we learn that, we have more in common as human beings than we think we don't.
Yep.
And so what ends up happening is, by the time they're ready for the hypnosis session, we've now developed trust, rapport, and they've become comfortable with our voice as a practitioner, which is very important. And then we begin the hypnosis session, which is usually 2 hours. It's encouraged that we don't go more than 2 hours, because the body does need rest and it gets uncomfortable after about 2.5 hours. But during those 2 hours, something extraordinary happens, because the hypnosis session has 3 parts to it. The first part, the higher self will take you on a journey to somewhere, either in your present life or a past life, a parallel life, or a future life, or a combination thereof. So that's the first part. The second part, we bring in the higher self to give us the wisdom of why they showed you what they showed you. And then in the third part, we look to ask all your questions. We basically bring those questions forth to the higher self, and we say, hey, so-and-so's troubled with XYZ. What is the root of this? Where does it come from? What can they learn from this? What do they need to learn from it? All of those questions, we become almost your spiritual attorney. We're there to ask all the tough questions and dig and really get the answers that you came to get, and then some. And what we find is that when people find out the answers, they find out the root of what their symptoms are and why they've been carrying those. Oftentimes, those symptoms disappear. And so we do find that people experience instantaneous healing, and many of them experience healing to a certain percentage, because there has to be a certain agreement in place for the healing to take place. You have to want it. Believe it or not, there are people that do not want to be healed. They may not realize it on a conscious level, but there are people that do not want to be healed. Why, you may be wondering? It's because they get a payoff of some kind. For example, I had a client who had a particular illness, and said that on the surface, they said that they wanted to be healed, and I believed him. And I'm sure that there's a part of him, a great part of him, that does want to be healed. But when the subconscious came through, it explained that, in fact, this person doesn't really want to be healed. And I said, why? They said, because as long as they are ill, they feel they can still be loved by their partner, and their partner will stay with them.
Yeah.
Almost out of sympathy. So I was just like, wow. So there are payoffs for people being ill. So the beauty of all this is you get answers. Sometimes it's not necessarily the answers you want, but it's definitely the answers you need to hear.
If you're a podcaster or a video creator, this is the all-in-one AI video editor you've been looking for. I've been using Async since day one, and it's amazing to watch it progress into a complete powerhouse for creators. Especially for people like me who, can't edit for shit. Async leverages AI to give you total control over your video. You can record, edit, generate clips, add subtitles, and even dub your content in over 15 languages. Plus, it lets you upscale your footage and easily repurpose your content for different platforms, all without ever having to switch between different tools. It's truly a game changer. So if you want to streamline your workflow and make your editing process painless, check out async.com today. The link is in the description below.
Very, very
That's the
fair.
beauty of it.
I did this all myself. I figured basically out myself how to heal what was wrong with me. I spent 30 years just not really understanding what I was doing, why I was doing it, that kind of thing. I had a personal loss that kind of just made me click. And then I thankfully have a partner that gave me permissions. And this has been my journey of kind of healing and also finding what I truly want out of life. One of the reasons I wanted to bring you on was because I understand how much it takes to really get past that barrier of incentive to stay the same way.
Yes.
We get trapped in our own cycles, and then we can't really get out of them without help sometimes. So it's great what you're doing. I appreciate that you've taken that step and are helping other people out. What do you say to the people who think you're just a sham?
Well, I just say everyone has the right to believe what they want to believe, and I'm okay with that. I would encourage them, if they're serious about their own healing or to find the truth, because for me, it's all about your personal truth,
Yeah.
is to, number one, read my reviews on Google. They're all legitimate reviews from clients, from people that I've helped. And you'll see that there's a reason why I have over 30 5-star reviews. Secondly, check out the YouTube videos. Many of my clients have been brave souls and have agreed for me to post their hypnosis sessions online on YouTube. So you will see exactly, you will hear exactly what they're experiencing. And oftentimes I have a debrief session, and that's also posted with their permission. And you will see the profound healing that they receive. And each session is unique. Each session is different. And truth be told, if you're skeptical, that's actually normal. It's normal. I would expect that. In fact, I was also skeptical before I even got into this. As you said earlier, I was in real estate for 15 years. And real estate is a very ego-driven, left-brained kind of industry, if you will.
Software engineer, so I completely understand.
You understand. And my partner is in the finance industry. So, and she's the one who introduced me to Dolores Cannon, of all people. And that's why I became intrigued by it at first, because when someone like my partner, who is very grounded, very analytical, left-brained, and skeptical, tells me that there's a spiritual teacher out there that I should listen to, I pay attention, because I'm the more airy-fairy one in the relationship, where I'll follow different people and hear them and hear what they have to say. Yeah. Less skeptical than she is. But when she brought up Dolores Cannon, I looked into Dolores Cannon, and what I loved about her, I don't know if you got a chance to hear her, is she's like a grandma that's very direct, loving, but she will tell you the truth whether you want to hear it or not. And I think that's what gravitated so many people like myself and my partner to her message. And this is why her message still lives on after her passing on. After so many years, it's still, her videos are still going viral. People are still looking into QHHT. It's just been blowing up on Gaia TV recently. And I've been getting a lot of calls, people looking for healing and answers, people feeling stuck. Most of my clients happen to be women. For whatever reason, women seem to be more open to hypnosis at this time. And many of them happen to be older, like in the from 40s to the 70s age range. And so these women have experienced a lot of life. They've been through a lot. They've seen a lot. They are holding on to a lot. And for them to try this out, if you will, and then have profound experiences, as you will read in the testimonials, as you will see on the YouTube videos, it really makes you wonder that, wow, maybe there's something like this. Maybe it worked. And really the only way to find out for yourself is to do it yourself and experience it yourself. And the beauty right now is, when Dolores was alive, she forbade us from using this technique remotely. We could only do it in person at that time. And she had good reason for that, because when someone is in a deep theta state of hypnosis and the internet disconnects, God forbid, or something like that happens, it could be devastating for the client. And Dolores is what really, really cares utmost for the client experience. And so at that time it was forbidden. However, now, several years later, when the internet has become stronger and the world is more connected than ever before, we are now in a new realm where we're doing sessions online remotely. In fact, there are people that even if they live nearby me, they may not be able to see me. Maybe they have a phobia of driving. Maybe they're bedridden for whatever reason. Maybe they're hospitalized. So there's many reasons why a person would want to do a session remotely. And in fact, it opens up so many more opportunities and doors for both the client and practitioner. And so we don't call it QHHT, although it's quite similar. We call it BQH, which stands for Beyond Quantum Healing. It's a remote technique that was developed by a high-level QHHT student of Dolores, who was also very close to Dolores. And she waited quite some time after Dolores passed on to do this because, as you can imagine, the hesitation when you have respect for your teacher who has forbade it from being remote. And now you're like, wait, maybe it's time because we're going through COVID. People are locked up. They still needed healing. They still needed help. They
If
still
anything,
wanted answers.
if anything, they needed it more.
100%. So it was almost like the perfect storm that got this technology, if you will, to people in all parts of the world. And so since then, it's just been blowing up in a very beautiful way. You're hearing more and more about Dolores Cannon. You're seeing more videos about QHHT and BQH. More people like myself are coming out with books and podcasts and talking about it. And you also have raving fans, clients. And I've been on that side. I've been hypnotized 4 times. 3 of those times, it was prior to me becoming a practitioner. In fact, that was a requirement from my partner. She said, if you are going to spend your life's work and time and energy and money and resources to do this, then I want you to be sure about it. And I would want you to do at least 3 sessions on yourself, have someone hypnotize you. And if you still want to do this, then go for it. I support you fully. And I'm so grateful she did that because it really gave me the foundation to be certain that this is the experience that I want my clients to have. And it also allowed me to come up with my own way, my own flavor, if you will, of QHHT, because every practitioner has their voice, their experience, their energy that they bring to the table, and it does impact the session. So I would say that I know that I'm not for everybody, and every practitioner will be different. I've had people, when I was starting out, there were people going to very high level experienced practitioners, and then they would come to me and they would tell me that they didn't have the ideal experience, but with me they had a profound and beautiful experience. And it wasn't just one, it was several people that told me that. And at first I was like I had to be mindful that I don't let that get to my ego, because I understand that it's not about me. But this is not real estate in New York. With all due respect, this is people's lives that we're really like, the impact you can imagine that when you help one person and the people that they're related to, the people that they come into contact with, the ripple of is immeasurable. And realizing that, knowing that, and the importance that Dolores has put on the client experience really makes us humble to what we're doing. And so to answer your question once again, I would expect people to be skeptical. It's healthy to be skeptical because there are shams. There are people promising all sorts of magic and instantaneous healing. And we don't make any of those guarantees here. Although you'll have practitioners like myself and Dolores and others that will share our experiences we've had of incredible healings that we've seen clients experience. And we can't deny that. And I know that they cannot. And go to their doctors afterwards that they have disappeared and the doctors don't understand it. And so here we are. There are so many modalities out there that are all considered alternative medicine, but yet the traditional, or if you will, the modern medicine in the West doesn't understand it. And that doesn't negate the fact it works. And
I've been saying for a while, there's been a narrative, multiple narratives at play for decades across all of civilization to stop actual breakthroughs in a lot of things for a long time. And even myself, I'm politically motivated. I was a government worker. I understand the system very well. And now
as was I, by the way. I didn't put it in my bio, but I used to work for the RCMP. For 2 years. I was on the civilian side.
Yeah.
And I'm sad to say that at that time, I saw a lot of corruption, and it broke my heart. As a Canadian, I was like, I was wearing rose-colored glasses for most of my life. And I was just like, wow, we have such a great nation. And I'm not saying we don't have a great nation. I feel we do. And the nation is made up of people like you and I. And the government is there to serve the people.
And
at least that's the ideal.
For the longest time, it has not. I do deep dives in on this all the time because, yeah, when I was working there, I did 8 years with the Ministry of Transportation. I was an IT guy, so I got to see everything. And I saw firsthand the waste, fraud, and abuse across the entire system. I still, now that I'm out of the government, and I've come to the realization that the government is the problem with most of what's going on with our country. It has nothing to do with private businesses or billionaires, as everybody's saying. It's our government trying to control the population and doing so by training them to rely on the government for everything. And
Yeah,
that narrative is very deeply seated in a lot of people now. I
100%.
say we've gone from a kind people to a nice people, and I just
Yeah.
want to go back to being kind.
Yeah, interesting. See, and I love that you take a stand for the people of this beautiful nation. And for me, having been born in Canada, raised here, and then living in the US, especially on the East Coast for 15 years, it made me look at Canada from a different perspective. And I appreciate so many things about Canada, and especially now with what's going on with the US and the world. But also, it makes me concerned because us Canadians, we tend to be nice and kind, as you said. But I feel like that could also be a weakness in these times. We're living in times where people are waking up, that people are realizing that we've been lied to over and over again. We continue to be lied to. Our tax money is not going to where it should be going. Many of us are struggling, and you have the top 1% in the US, Canada, and elsewhere that are riding off the backs of us, our parents, our neighbors, our friends, our families, our loved ones. And that is not sustainable because it's only so long that people will put up with it when they awaken to the truth, especially post-COVID. All the people that we've lost, I'm sure you've lost people in your family. I've lost people in my family, many young people, like just sudden heart attacks, all kinds of things. Some may be related to the vaccine, some not.
Quite a few that I've noticed that are actually, there's one person I follow on X, she's quadriplegic now with the vaccine. And then for the government to come out and say, we're going to seal those records for 50 or 20 years so that nobody can study what happens to the effects of the vaccine just disgusted me.
Yeah.
It very much was an eye-opener. And just to give you a little bit more understanding of me, my family actually has been going to Cuba since 98. We started a non-profit or not-for-profit during COVID because they weren't getting the supplies. They had a lot of loans, and because the US, they couldn't get anything. I understood a lot about the Cuban system, and then I'm like, oh, this is how you fall. This is how you get controlled. And it was a lot of eye-opening things from that side now be and understand. Socialism is all fine and dandy until it's been there for so long that it gets corrupted. I think we need a balance in our systems that says every 5 or so years, the companies that currently do it need to be shut down and new ones need to be brought back up. Or some sort of cycling, or even just like cycling our individual citizens through the government, like maybe a 2-year stint working with government to understand how it does and work things. I think we need a little bit more insight into how we operate before we can start voting properly. I'm still working on it because there's so many narratives and it's so hard to break through.
Yeah. Well, good for you for speaking up, speaking your truth, speaking the truth that you see and you experience without fear. And I feel like when there's enough of us that speak up, there's going to be a change. There has to be a change because there's momentum towards that. Anyways, it's bound to happen.
Yeah.
Because this is a type of tyranny.
Yes.
It's
not just happening in Canada, it's happening everywhere in the world.
Absolutely. Yeah, we say that because in our family as well, my dad is Indian, my mother's Pakistani, and I got to live in Pakistan for 2 years. And my parents and a lot of the people back home, they say, yeah, in our country, the corruption is open. In your country, it's hidden. It's hidden. It's white collar crime, but it's still a crime. And it's an amazing time that we're living in where humanity is awakening. We are awakening to our own powers. We're awakening to the truth. All the lies that have been told to us, all the lies that have been fed to us are coming to the surface. We're starting to realize that we have been divided as humanity on purpose to keep us from being united, from keeping us from figuring out how powerful we actually are as a people.
I coming out here, and I moved from Ontario to Newfoundland, and I'm in a small community of about 3,500 people, and I love it here. The community here is beneficial to each other. They just want to help. They want to connect. My neighbor was at my door the moment we moved in, telling us all about the town. That connection needs to come back. That connection is what made us Canadian, was not caring what the other person, who the other person is, just being helpful in any way, shape, or form.
I don't know how old you are, but when I was younger, I remember being able to go bike riding after school, and I just come home for dinner, and there's no fear of being kidnapped, or we'd leave our doors open, unlocked. And this was Montreal, you know, and I can't imagine today our children just going out and as young as I was in grade 3, 4, 5, and just going to the corner store all by myself after school and taking my time and just biking around wherever I want. It's just a different world. And it actually makes me really sad because I feel like the nation, and it's not just Canada, US, it's happened as well, where people have gone into fear. We become victims of fear. And I can't blame the people because it's what's been fed to us is fear, anxiety, concern, distrust. And as we've been fed to distrust each other, we started to go inwards in terms of that, staying in our homes, not getting out much, maybe not talking to neighbors, not saying hello. If you walk down the street in Toronto, good luck on someone saying hello to you or hi. Feel the contrast where you are now. And even when I was in the US, there was a point where I lived in Kentucky in the Midwest, and people were so friendly. It's so nice. And when my aunt and my sister lived in Alabama, people were very friendly, very nice. It's like this modern life that we're living in, we've actually regressed when we think we've actually progressed. And when we've been told that the indigenous, for example, were like Neanderthals, cavemen, or whatever, this is nothing to be further than the truth. They were more connected to earth and nature, universal principles, than we can even imagine. If anything, we are more glued right now, like to screen and to social media than ever before. Loneliness being an epidemic, there's no coincidence. Of course, it's going to be that case. We're so disconnected from ourselves. How can we connect with anyone else?
That's the point, is that the old world is not what we thought it was. And I'm just trying to showcase the people trying to make change, the people who are doing something different, the people who have understood and been in the system and want to build something better, not just for themselves, but for others. There's so many people out there doing that. This channel is going to celebrate those people as long as I can do this for, because I just want to give hope to the internet. I think that's something, the data that we have on the internet, sorry for keeping you past our time, but
no, it's perfect.
The data we put on the internet is all based off of hate and fear and our own personal self-interest. I want to be a beacon of hope. I want to put the love on the internet. I want to give it the data set it never had so that people can see something different, especially when we're coming into robotics. I feel like there needs to be a lot more data we put on the internet. That's more human than what we've had for years.
100%. And I'm so happy you brought this up because I know that you wanted me to share a little bit more about my music and my books. I think it will benefit the audience immensely if they're interested in spirituality and reconnection with themselves and with each other. You had mentioned one of my labels is My Spiritual Teacher, and my website for that is myspiritualteacher.ca. It's proudly Canadian. Even though I'm a dual citizen, I'm very proud to be Canadian. In spite and despite the government or what people may think, I still love Canada. I will always love Canada. Not to say that I don't love the US. There are things that I do love about the US, but I do feel that our dear neighbor is going through a big change right now. and that change is impacting us and will continue to impact us on a greater scale. I just hope that we're all prepared and that we're all strong and united and loving, not just to ourselves, but to each other, and that we understand the values that we hold as human beings. And just like you feel in the small towns, the care that people has for one's neighbor, on the principles that these nations were built on: love thy neighbor, care for each other, do unto another that you would want done on, fundamental to who we are as human beings. And it crosses out all race, all religion, all nations. In fact, this is something that, if we look at the core of who we are as human beings, we have more in common than we have differences. We all want safety, security. We all want our families to do well and to flourish and to be healthy, to be happy, to thrive. And knowing that, it's something that will unite us as one people, not just Canadians, not just North Americans, but as human beings, because more than ever, our planet needs us right now in a time of where much of the planet is dealing with war and strife and uncertainty. It's time for us to put aside our differences and look to see, okay, what is not working and what is working, so that our children and their children can have a better world than perhaps that we've created, if we were to take responsibility for it.
We're supposed to leave it better than we found it.
Yes, ideally.
And that's a good place to end off for this episode. For everybody out there, please comment and subscribe. And a little bit of nugget information: go touch grass, please. And everybody out there, stay weird.
Peace.